The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
In June of 2023, nearly 3 years before I became governor, a serious software error in New Jersey's motor vehicle system led to the improper voter registration of what we believe to be roughly 6,600 people in our state. When New Jerseyans applied for a driver's license or identification at the MVC, they were asked if they wanted to register to vote. In the case of this error, some individuals indicated that they weren't citizens and weren't eligible to vote, but the software registered them anyway.
Is that so? How you like that? Welcome, my friends, to the Tuesday edition of both Snerdley's Rush Hour, the fastest hour in American media. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That is the governor of New Jersey, Mickey, whatever you call her, Mikey Sherrill. Mickey, the software. So this is what we're told by the governor of New Jersey. The software in New Jersey, which according to the Wall Street Journal, comes from a company named Idmia. Yeah, the software comes from a company called Idmia. And the software all by itself, see, it's smart software. The software asked at the motor vehicles where they're registered to vote, hey, do you want to vote? Everybody that comes through gets a driver's license. Some people reported and said, no, we're not citizens, so we can't vote. And then the software said, you know what? Screw that. Never mind. We're just going to let them vote anyway. You're registered. Don't worry. Yeah, you told us that you're here, non-citizens, but we, the software, the software, if it's a singular, I don't know how the software identifies, whether it's cisgender software or whether it's full male-female software. I don't know. It's Mikey Sherrill. Thank you, Debbie. Mikey Sherrill. Who names a girl Mikey? Anyway, so the software from Idmia just said, you know what? We, or I, depending on how the software identifies, we think you should vote. So the software all by itself just said, okay, here, you're on the voter rolls in New Jersey. And Mikey Sherrill and her administration caught it. This all happened under the other governor, Democrat Governor Phil Murray. And what happened was, ladies and gentlemen, when J.D. Vance and when DHS Secretary Mark Mullen and when Donald Trump really started talking about the election stuff, but especially DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, when he sent a letter to New Jersey officials after Donald Trump's speech and said that the preliminary review found 35,152 non-citizens could be registered to vote in New Jersey, they looked. And they discovered only, they say, 6,000 and change, they say. Now, how does innocent software, which either identifies as an I or a we, the software intelligently decided that non-voters, people not eligible to vote, should vote? How did it happen? And that remains unexplained. Another question, who else is using this software? How widespread is this software that says, even though people tell it, hold on, I'm sorry, Debbie's texting me. It's Cheryl, not Sherrill. Man, I get confused with this woman, the governor's name. It's Mikey Sherrill. Mikey Sherrill, not Mickey Sherrill, Mikey Sherrill. Thank you, Debbie. Anyway, and I'm going to forget it again because I just cannot seem to remember how this woman pronounces her name. Mikey Sherrill. Mikey. Anyway, and I'm not trying to be mean to her. I have a block with her name for some weird reason. I just keep forgetting the right way to pronounce it. And it's not intentional, I assure you. Anyway, Mikey Sherrill said that when they find a problem, they don't hide it, they don't deny it, they don't come up with conspiracy theories. They investigate the problem, they fix it, and then they go and they tell the public. Well, you've told us some things, but you haven't told us how exactly it happened. Does software make errors on its own? Who vetted this software and why? And how widespread has it been? How widespread is this particular software? They say the vendor, but is that the name of the software? The vendor is IDEMIA. But what's the software? And is the software in use in other states? And she says, by the way, fewer than 400 people of the people have voted since they were registered to vote. They are scattered across the state. Well, wait a minute. We were told that non-citizens don't vote at all by Democrats. And here they are on the voting rolls and voting. Funny how that works. Interesting how that works. The SAVE Act, by the way, some of it has passed a hurdle in the House. Speaker Mark Johnson today got passed a provision inside the new budget bill that will pass some of the financial policy regarding the SAVE Act, and they put it in reconciliation bill. So it would fund voter ID operations in many states. It has a way to go, though. The rest of this budget reconciliation bill has $73 billion for our activities in Iran. You know Democrats are going to howl and moan, and maybe some Republicans. $12 billion for American farmers. And it still has to go through a framework vote tomorrow. And it's not sure whether that will pass the House. But if it does, then it gets to the Senate, where we'll have the Senate vote on it. So it's a way to go, but some of the SAVE Act is now inside the reconciliation bill. I want to break early because when we get back, I want to delve into the sound bites. We have Van Jones with a few sound bites that I think are important. Along with, did you know there's a hearing today, oversight? They're looking into Medicare fraud, and they're looking into what happens at the Smithsonian. And Brandon Gill did a masterful job with the director, one of the directors of the Smithsonian. I think she was with the Natural History last time I looked, but she may be in charge of the whole dang thing now. Anyway, Brandon Gill from Texas did a remarkable job with her. And we've got a lot of activity that's brewing up in the Democrat Party. So, James Golden, Snerdley, Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. The software made a mistake. Don't worry about it. It's just software had an act. The software had a boo-boo. The software had made a boo-boo, but it's okay. I tell you, Democrats have more you-know-what with them. We'll be right back.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
If we left today, it would take them decades to rebuild, and I don't believe they could ever rebuild. And honestly, they haven't seen anything yet. We've been nice. We've been nice.
That was President Trump today at the White House. He also had an exchange, I believe, yes, it was with an ABC reporter. Cut 12, Carlos. We are going to get to Van Jones, but we got to do this first.
Mr. President, there are no signs that Iran is ready to stop fighting. So what is the plan? Is the plan to just keep bombing until they give up?
There are no signs. What, do you know something that I don't know?
Well, they continue to attack our allies.
I don't know what the dialogue is behind the scenes, that they want to meet desperately to try and end it because they're getting decimated. You don't get that when you listen to your fake station, but you don't know. You don't know anything.
So talks are
you know
still
something
possible,
that I don't know? Do you know something I don't know?
Well, tell us.
I will tell you. They want to desperately meet, and until they're ready to meet in a meaningful way, we have no interest in even.
So that
was beautiful. Mr. President, Iran, blah, blah, blah. How do you know? How do you know what Iran? Do you know something I don't know? You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But her premise was already made, which was the question, based on her premise, a made-up mind with no information. Typical of what you get from today's journalists instead of asking a question to get the information. A premise already made up and included with the question. Now, Van Jones. Let's do the short one, cut 16, because I got a long one, and we are going to spend some time with this.
I've been waiting my whole life to see a youth movement do what it's doing, but it's being hijacked by people who are putting in nutty ideas supporting terrorists, nutty ideas saying that we don't need cops in prison. We can't deport anybody even if they rape somebody. Who said this? Chevalier. If we can't say right from wrong, if we can't say good from bad, if we can't separate progressive ideas from regressive ideas, we're going down the same pathway that has pulled the Republican Party into an unrecognizable shell of itself. And I refuse to let that happen to them.
And the other problem...
I am a progressive Democrat. You want to talk about prison reform? I've done it as well as anybody, Republican Democrats in the South with Trump. I've done prison reform. I never said have no prisons. Where are you going to put the Klan? I've done police reform. I never said no police. Where are you going to put the pedophiles? Who's going to grab the pedophiles? This stuff is going too far.
That is a part of it. Cut 17. We have time to squeeze this one in from Van Jones.
Look, I used to be on the left side of Pluto, but to have somebody who, their main qualification for being in our party is they were celebrating after October 8th the murder of innocent Israelis, to have somebody in our party get the nomination whose main qualification is saying that there should be no police, no prisons, Israel shouldn't exist. It's a red flashing light. And I think people who have more reasonable ideas in this party are going to have to start working. Because what's happening is the establishment thinks that you can just buy ads and get endorsements. That's going to somehow help you win. Trump figured out the hard way, you can't win in Iran with just bombers if you have nothing on the ground. Moderates cannot win in these blue districts if they have nothing on the ground. If all they have are ads and endorsements, and they don't have the door-knocking army of the DSA, you're going to see more and more of these candidates. The Democratic Socialists of America, they've got ground troops, and passion matters, and a mobilized base matters, and moderates keep thinking that they can just say shame on you and sign another check. You're going to have to put people on these doors. Otherwise, you're going to have people like this and worse taking off this party.
Now, let me tell you, this civil war is erupting in the Democrat Party. I'm not sad to see it, but Van Jones is out on a limb here because he's taking a lot of these people head on. But more and more, you're starting to find people. We heard Bill Maher's quotes yesterday. You hear Van Jones. We hear the commentators. A lot of the elected, and you hear, of course, Carville has gone off the deep end, and he has been doing it for over a year and a half on these progressives, maybe closer to 2 years. But you're starting to see a few that are not many. Representative Seth Moulton, who is a rabid liberal, I think he was on PMS Now, and he had some words to say about it. We will examine that. We're not through with Van Jones. And then we have a few of the DSA members themselves. You heard Van Jones mention this Avila Xavier. And this is the woman, Dari Lanana, or Dari Ganelin, or anyway, Miss Xavier,
I asked
who
you
won
when you were
in New York. So we will get to all of that when we return from the next profit center. But the Democrats have they have a battle on their hands, folks, and it is not a battle that is going to be without a few casualties. The progressive base has grown now from what started out with AOC and a few rabble-rousers on that side to a full-blown effort challenging the actual Democrat Party establishment itself. And it is catching fire among their youth, and they know it. James Golden, Snerdley. Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour is the fastest hour in American media. Stay here for every moment of it.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
A shout out to D-Zoner on X, on the platform X. He sent me a text, the best cut of Guns N' Roses, and he sent along a link for the official video, is Paradise City. And I've had a comment. Lady Benedict says she saw Guns N' Roses with Aerosmith. And in her opinion, Guns N' Roses took the show. They just smoked. Yeah. A lot of Guns N' Roses fans. That was again, the most successful debut album in history, in the history of music, in America at least, Guns N' Roses. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue with the Democrat plight. This is a longer cut of Van Jones, and this cut is getting so much attention. Fox did a 5-minute news story on this cut, and they intermingled this cut with the Bill Maher cuts that we played yesterday on their report. But this I thought was worth listening to, and it was extremely well done from a production point of view. It goes on, his total remarks go on for about 9 minutes. But Van Jones, we just took the first 4 minutes of this, roughly 4 minutes. But this is really coming from Van Jones to the Democrat Party. That's his target here. Pretty incredible. And as I say, it's getting a lot of buzz. Cut 15, Van Jones.
I am tired of a set of people on the very far left in the Democratic Party, my party, telling us that in order for us to be progressives, we now have to believe ideas and support ideas that are completely nuts. I am a progressive Democrat. In other words, everything that's good in our party, I believe in, have believed in for a long time. Do I want universal health care, Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it? Absolutely. If you are sick, you should be able to go see a doctor. That's a good idea. I want free education for everybody as long as they want to keep learning. I think that's a good idea. The Green New Deal, I'm the author of the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is my phrase from my first book in 2008. There's nobody more committed to criminal justice reform than me, ecological solutions, the whole deal. These are our ideals as progressives. We should fight for them. We need them now more than ever. But what does that have to do with supporting Hamas? What does that have to do with putting up candidates who say we should have no police, no prisons, we can't deport anybody, even if they commit rape or murder, Israel shouldn't exist? These are terrible ideas. These are awful ideas. Where did these ideas even come from? If we want people to join this party, when people come to the party, you want to give them a wonderful punch bowl of wonderful ideas like this. Who is putting the poop in the punch bowl? Bruh. Why are these ideas in our punch bowl? These are regressive ideas. How do you know? Look at the ideas on this side. If you lived in a world where everybody could see a doctor when they got sick, if they didn't have a penny in their pocket, if everybody could get an education as far as their learning and desire could take them, if everybody had clean air and clean water, if you didn't have ICE running around hurting people for no reason? Would that be a good world or a bad world? It'd be a great world. We need to progress toward that world. That's called progress. That's called progressive. Now, if you lived in a world where there were no police and no prisons, so that in your neighborhood, any gang member, terrorist, pedophile, Klan member could do whatever they wanted to, is that progress or regress? If you lived in a world where we said, well, you can be a terrorist if you want to, as long as you feel oppressed, and anybody can get blown up at any time and people will make excuses for it, is that a better world? Is that progress? Or is that regressing to a lawless, chaotic state? If we lived in a world where people could literally get elected to office with the only qualification being that they went and celebrated a mass murder of Israelis, if all elected officials celebrated mass murders, is that a better world or a worse world? These are not progressive ideas. These are regressive ideas. And I'm old enough to know the difference. And you're smart enough to know the difference. Ideas that make the world better, that help us progress to a better place, those are the ideals of the Democratic Party. If you were not born rich, lucky, or famous, you need a Democratic Party. That's what we're for.
No, you don't.
That's what we're about.
You don't.
Ideas that are literally insane, nutty, moronic, dangerous, bigoted, are not progressive. They're regressive, and they should not be in our party. The people who are promoting these nutty, crazy, backwards ideas are party poopers. Literally, they're coming to the party and pooping in our punch bowl, and they need to stop.
Every party has it.
Yeah, well, they're not going to stop, and they're going to keep pooping. In fact, let's listen to a little of the poop from this woman that has won the right to be in the general election from Colorado, Malat Kiros, cut 14. Folks, this may be difficult to understand the point. She's a leftist, and they speak in that lefty pseudo-intellectual language that they all seem to understand and everybody else has to decipher. Here she is, Malat Kiros.
I think it's particularly important, not just for our community in Tigray, but communities of the global South, period, right? There's a certain reckoning that we are going to have with the global world order as it exists today, and the way that it fundamentally will have to shift going forward, right? The responsibility that we have as Americans, the recognition that is going to be required of us, of the exploitative and extractive nature that we play on the global scale and the global stage, is only going to be challenged if we are getting represented by people who understand that on a fundamental level, right? And that means getting more immigrants into office. That means getting more people who have heritage in the global South into office, because that's where those decisions are made specifically.
Okay, let me translate for those of you that listened to that and didn't understand what in the hell this woman was talking about. The global South is their code language for saying Africa and certain parts of Africa and certain parts of South America. Just think of the southern half of the equator. Under the equator, those nations would be, some of them. Now, some of them. She ain't talking about New Zealand here. She's not talking about down under in Australia. She's talking about her neighbors in the global South. And so their idea is that the global South now has to come to dominance to defeat the existing world order. And the rest of that poppycock, nonsensical whatever it was just trying to explain that. We need, which, by the way, is why they want to load America with illegal immigrants. That is it in a nutshell. She's saying it. The browning of America. And that's what she is saying, without saying what the Democrats used to say when they meant the same thing. We need the browning of America. We have to turn, and they want it for Europe too. That's considered the global North. And now the global South has to take over the global North. And this woman is running for a seat in the House of Representatives in Colorado. She won her primary. Now let's go to the primary winner in New York, who's going to be the next representative, because there ain't no opposition stopping her. That's that Darialana Avila Chevalier, cut 18. She was on the show, and they asked her a simple question. Yes, you're going to support Jeffries for Speaker. It's a simple question. Listen to the non-simple answer.
I asked you when you were here for the mini debate of Hakeem Jeffries should be Speaker, and you said it was too early because you were focused on the race. The race is over. Should he be Speaker?
I'm still working to build out, the structures of co-governance that I'm so excited to model for others across the country, but for this district in particular, and to have those conversations with the community, because I think the first vote that I make will set the tone for the kind of leadership that this district will have, and I want to make sure that I'm making that vote with the considerations of the community in mind.
Should Hakeem Jeffries be Speaker? Well, I'm busy making the model for co-governance for the country. Well, for my district, but for co-governance for the country. And I want to make sure that we have the conversation with the. You cannot get a straight answer from these people. You just can't. They can't give you a yes or no. He should be. I don't know, etc. Now, let's turn to Democrat Representative Seth Moulton from Massachusetts, cut 13. And this is him on PMS Now talking about these hardcore socialists that have taken over, are taking over, I should say. They haven't taken it over yet, that are attempting to take over the Democrat Party.
There are a lot of people in America who feel that the Democratic Party is out of touch. We can't be honest about what's going on, with immigration. We don't have a plan for immigration. We're not able to say what actually Democrats should do to fix the problem. All we are is opposition to Trump. Under Biden, we said inflation is not really a big deal. It's transitory. It's going to go away. And then the whole party said, hey, don't worry, everything's great. Joe is awesome. He can run for re-election. So the point is, we have this history of kind of just like washing over problems and not addressing real concerns that voters have. We got to make sure we don't do that.
Okay, but we've got to make sure. Do you think you're doing that now? Because look no further than a state just north of you, Maine, where I kind of feel like that happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think that's honest. I mean, to be honest, it's a problem. It's still a problem.
Yeah, and there's going to still be a problem. Did you see this guy that this closed in on the nomination? This Troy guy, it's Plattner 2.0 without the Nazi tattoo. Apparently, this guy's also had some problems with women, but they're not nearly as on the same level as the other guy. Now, I don't have time to get into the Smithsonian hearing. That was delicious, and also, the FBI nabbed another guy. FBI is doing a bang-up job. You wouldn't know it because every time they get in front of the Democrats, you think the FBI was horrible under Kash Patel's watch. But they have picked up the third most wanted U.S. fraudster. And in just 5 weeks, he's the third. They're picking up people off the most wanted list, and some of them have been hanging out for years. This guy's name is Khalid Ahmed Satwari. He was behind a $547 million. Think about that. Almost $500 million to this one guy's Medicare fraud schemes alone. He was overseas. They picked him out. He was indicted in the Southern District in Florida. And they got him coming back to America. James Golden, Snerdley, when we get back. The clip of the day is coming up. On this, Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, the fastest hour in American media. Stay with us.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The clip of the day. You want to hear it. It's the clip of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Republicans held an oversight subcommittee hearing this afternoon regarding Smithsonian's American History Museum. A certain congresswoman there, Democrat, had a question, a bunch of questions, but a question specifically aimed at Dr. David Blight, who is a Yale historian invited to testify at the hearings. I think this congresswoman needs no introduction. You will know immediately from her voice who she is.
The World Cup that captured the imaginations of the entire world when they saw all of these people of color that was playing for all these teams. And ultimately, if you recall, the last two teams, it was Argentina and Spain. And it seemed like the vast majority of the world was rooting for Argentina, or actually against Argentina, right? And why was that? Just give me an explanation if you could guess. If you'll just let them finish the answer.
Spain had the best team. Maybe that's why they were rooting for them.
There's also a racist history that exists as it relates to
Mr. Byer, you're recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
The whole world was rooting for Spain. Why was that? Because the whole world is racist. Jasmine Carter. Crockett. We got to go. We're going to leave with Tony Bennett, who passed away today. We could talk about Tony Bennett for hours. You know, he is just great. Was great, is great, will forever be great. We got to go. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your family, and your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, back tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?